You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
I'm so glad that you're here, Jared. I can't even look at you because I'll just start laughing. But I'm here with my buddy, Jared Christman. We've been friends a long time, man. And one thing that I wanted to talk to people about is the work you're doing these days. And I'll tell you what kind of caught me off guard was when you first started describing it to me, I didn't quite understand what you're talking about, because it just sounded very foreign to me. And at the same time, it sounded really important. And I was thinking, man, it was like 4 years ago, we were chest deep in the surf throwing dog food cans with holes in them, trying to catch sharks. And now he's got an office in Washington, D.C.
and what's funny is, the funny thing is that dog food with holes in it, it kind of sums it up, right? The whole thing is thinking outside of the box, right? You want to be, everyone's heard of chum, right? Sure. You throw food, chopped up fish, whatever. Yeah. But how many people thought of dog food?
Yeah.
Right? So that's ultimately, it's thinking outside of the box and coming up with things, ideas, right? Yeah. That are like, this is meant for this, but you know what? I bet we could do it for this too. So like the dog food with the holes in it, they don't always work.
Sure.
But hey, it was worth a shot.
And it was exciting.
It kept us on our toes. We didn't know.
So people know your background is in, I guess, tell me where it originated from. Like you were a draftsman in the beginning, right? And so was I. And I'll tell people, growing up in a small town, there wasn't a whole lot of, I guess, I'm not going to say opportunity, but maybe opportunity, but even just things for you to learn that were outside of the norm. And I remember it was the last 2 weeks of my senior year, homemaking class. Miss Deviney was the teacher. She's going through the curriculum to make sure we did everything that we were supposed to. Last 2 weeks. And she goes, oh, there's one thing we didn't do. And she goes, we need to, everybody get one of these home books. We're going to pick a house, and we're going to take that floor plan. We're going to draw it on like I don't know what it was, like a 2x3, and scale it up to 1/4 inch and turn that in. That's our last assignment. So we did it with a Sharpie, and we did it with some rulers. I picked a house, and I did it really quick, and I loved it. And so I actually did 6 of my friends' projects right after that, because I thought it was cool,
Sure.
And there was math to it. There was structure. So I like structure in my head, and everything looked pretty. I was using a triangle to make my straight lines and dimensions, and things were proportioned. And I remember asking her, I was like, "What is this?" And she's like, "It's drafting." And I'd never heard that word ever, And then she says, B County, which was up the road, I think it's Coastal Bend College now. She says they have a program. And so my buddy Andre was actually in the program. We ended up carpooling together. So I went to B County, and I was super pumped up about it. And I loved learning to draft. And then eventually I got a job drafting at an engineering firm. And as I got older, I made a career out of doing jobs other people didn't want to do, which was plumbing design, It falls under mechanical. People who get degrees for that stuff don't want to do plumbing. So guess who gets to do plumbing? The guy with no degree, right?
Yeah.
And so eventually, I don't know if maybe I'm still wrong in this thought process, but back then I thought drafting was a job, or a career rather. And I learned real quick that engineering was the career, and it was like drafting was the tool, Mm-hmm. And we were kind of at the cusp too, where it was kind of like they were getting away from an engineer and a draftsman, and it was like you're drafting and designing, right? And so that's kind of how I got my foot in the plumbing design. And so I enjoyed it, but yet at the same time, it was kind of like our buddy Rich, he works with me now. We always have this conversation, and I always say we're the 2 biggest idiots because we're the only 2 guys in an industry that you need a 4-year degree who only have 2-year degrees, And so it really limits our growth at firms, especially at this point, at this age with 20 years of experience. People will go, no, there's no ceiling. And it's like, yeah, there's a ceiling. And so to me, when we were talking the other day about what you're into now and what you're promoting, and to me, it's like, man, I wish that was there, because I'll be honest with you. I'm not a sit in the desk, even though I do that for a living, but I don't want to sit in a desk and go to college and pursue, like I always tell my wife, I'm like, if I go back to college, it's not for engineering, but talking to you, and I'm still baffled and don't quite understand it, but it sounds like there's so much more opportunity for other things that are outside of that engineering degree.
There really is. And it's funny because going back, right? So you were talking about, how you got started into drafting, and I was kind of the same route, but you were years ahead of me, actually.
Wow.
Because I was in high school. When I was in high school, I didn't even know what drafting was.
Oh,
right?
Gotcha.
Right. So I was, it
was my last 2 weeks that I learned about it, so I wasn't that far.
I still didn't know anything about it, but it's funny because it's the thought process, right? Mm. So like you said, you grew up in a small town. I grew up in Calallen.
Yeah.
Right.
Y'all were the rich folks in Coastal Bend area.
Yeah, that wasn't us. No, we lived in like an apartment, right? And like my, I slept on the sofa, right? It was literally like I didn't have a room, and it was, but we grew up with not a lot.
Yeah.
But what you do is you learn. I saw a video, and it says, if you're not rich, then you gotta take stuff that people throw away and make it cool, because you can't afford to buy it.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
Right. So that's kind of like what happens. You take other people's trash and you make it your treasure.
Yeah. I will say this, you are the epitome of that, because I've seen you do some pretty cool stuff with some unpretty cool things. And
it's right. It's a tinker mentality.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I didn't know anything about drafting until I was sitting there playing Nintendo. I'm aging myself here. Mm-hmm. Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo.
Best game ever. I don't care what's come out.
So I'm sitting there playing that, and a commercial came on for ITT. And
oh, that's right.
I was like, man, I need to do something with my life. And I literally called Barbara and told her, hey, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to ITT. I want to be a draftsman. And got into class, realized that I could not draw a straight line to save my life, and I was failing my lettering classes because
I was the worst one.
Horrible. So I was like, this is for the birds. And I was on the edge of quitting because I was failing all my classes, my lettering and my hand drafting. And then they introduced the CAD side of it. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this levels the playing field. I can draw a straight line. So then it took off, right? So that's when I started my drafting classes, and it just kind of, little did I know that, I went from there. I was working. I did the instruction guide for the space shuttle, right? Okay. So I was drawing the graphics for that. So from there, I got into mapping, right? Doing mapping, and then I went out into the field. This is like it's like 94, 95, and I'm using a pen computer.
Hey, when we use dates, let's bump them up 10 years. So 05.
Well, this is what's impressive. A pen computer with Windows 3.1.1.
Wow.
It was old school Windows, DOS, AutoCAD, but it was on a pen computer with a little a pen. And I was mapping out all the utility poles around the country, right? So what's interesting about that, now this is going somewhere, I promise.
Yeah.
I was using technology, but being in the field. Right. Okay, so I go from there. Then I go on to a surveying. I travel around the country, do that for years. I come back home. I'm a crew chief for a surveying company, right? So we're using the old school Sokia total stations, no GPS yet. But I still had my AutoCAD. So I had an old Dell laptop, and I would draw my points in AutoCAD after we were done surveying, instead of writing them and hand drawing, because again, my hand drawing was atrocious.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing them in CAD again, using the technology. And someone told me once, you're the only guy I know that if he can't take a chainsaw and cut around it, he's going to take a calculator and a computer and design around it.
Yeah.
So again, the thing is still using technology and the field, right? Spending months behind a chainsaw, cutting right away so we could see line of sight.
So at this point in your life, what are you digging the most? Are you digging the problem solving, or do you like the technology?
I like both. I like all of it. I like the problem solving. I like being in the field because I loved being out in the middle of nowhere. We were literally up in Utopia and Bandera and, just in the middle of the sticks, And I've never seen this. Like I saw a deer swim across the headwaters of the Guadalupe.
Oh, really?
Right. Oh, no, the Medina. It was the Medina. So cool. He swam across, and it's one of those things you see in National Geographic, but I've never seen a deer actually swim across a river. Yeah. And I thought, well, that's cool, right? Well, one day been cutting for a while, and there's pressure on a limb, and I'm cutting this limb, and it breaks loose, and whap, it hits me in the head.
Oh, wow.
And I see stars and bright white lights, and we were probably half a mile from the truck. And I was like maybe 30 something. I was like, yeah, this is kind of for the birds, man. so from there I went to work with Barker. That's where I met you. And, now I started transitioning into just the office. But ultimately the reason I bring all this up, because what ended up happening was that blend of technology and field is something that they call a construction technologist. Right.
Construction technology. Now, is that a term that's new, or
it is a new term? Okay. No, it's a new term. And it is a term that is growing, right? It is construction companies, they don't realize that they need a guy who's good with technology, right? And they need a guy preferably that's good with technology, that spent some time in the field, but he doesn't have to. Right. Just got to know the technology. So ultimately what's happening is you have these guys who are good with the trades, whether it be plumbers, mechanical, electricians, pipe fitters, whatever. They're good with the trade, but they don't know the technology. Yeah. So you give them an iPad, they're going to take that high-tech piece of technology and put it on a desk so that papers don't blow away. Yes. So that comes into play. Okay, how many kids know how to use an iPad? Right?
Probably all of them out of the womb.
I
don't know how some of these women are passing iPads in birth.
I'm telling you that instead of sticking the babies in an incubator, they're giving them an iPad right out of. But keep you warm. Like literally, our granddaughter can take a phone and answer a phone call, like a video call, and she's 3, almost 3, and she can answer a video call and then hang up a video call. Yeah. She can make a video call, right? 3 years old. So what's happening is you get these kids that are good with the technology. The guys in the field have no idea about the technology.
Yes.
So it's a progression that kids don't realize there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
0 college, get out of school. There's kids that fly drones, right? It literally costs like $195 to become drone certified. You can take it on your own.
I'm telling you, I'm doing it at the end of the year.
Yeah. You can take it on your own, get drone certified. You can take that drone certification and go to a contractor company, and they're going to want to hire you.
Yeah.
Some uses.
So let me ask you this real quick. Are contractors getting more on board with this? Because I'll be honest with you, when I first started kind of seeing some of this stuff pop up, it was with a few contractors that we're working with now. And we were at a job site, right? We're doing a job site visits during construction. And I'm gonna cough real quick because it's the allergy season, so that's all I'm gonna do this whole time. But basically, we all show up, and I'm there with my 11x17 and a pen. Everybody else has iPads, and this is not very long ago. This is like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I remember looking around, going, "Man, I feel inadequate." Right? Well, the general contractors walking around, and it takes time. I get it. But we're walking around, we're all looking at each individual room, we're noting deficiencies. He's taking pictures of them, he's locating them on a PDF on his iPad, and he's sending those deficiencies to everybody there in the room, all the players, so everybody's aware of them. By the time we leave there, everything's been documented, everybody has a copy, and the majority of those have been answered. Mm-hmm. What is the issue here? What is the fix? Who's going to pick up this fix? And when you leave your report, everything else you've done, all the photos, it's already put together. And when I saw that, I was like, this is very different, because that's not typically what we've seen in the past. But
so it is coming around. So you're on the design side now. I moved over to the contractor side, right? Doing BIM, right? Building information modeling. And when I got hired on as a contractor, or with the contractor, take a step back. I was self-employed before I went to the contractor.
Well, I remember that. We were working on some projects together, and they needed BIM. And I don't even know that you had a history of BIM at the time. I think you just dove into it head first.
I did. Electrical is the redheaded stepchild of the MEP, right?
Sure.
Barely ahead of, or barely below plumbing.
Plumbing might be.
But so I did. I dove in. I learned. I Googled Autodesk University. Went to Autodesk University. I went to all the mechanical classes because there weren't any from electrical at the time. And then I just applied that to electrical. But anyways, so I went through started BIM consulting, got hired on. I put that hat up. The contractor wanted me to work for them with the BIM. They saw that it was coming. They knew it was going to happen. And when I got hired on, again, with that field mentality, I told myself, I am going to find a way to bridge the gap, because the information needs to go from the field or from the office to the field and then back again, right?
And was your employer at the time recognizing that was a need? Because there's always having to pay for this service, right?
They did not at first. They didn't even know, right? Yeah. Because they didn't have a BIM department. They were barely getting started in an engineering department, but they really didn't know. So I introduced Bluebeam, right? Which is a PDF, but it also has cloud storage. A lot of people don't know that. They have this whole cloud storage side of it that comes free with it. Yeah. But ultimately, I was drawing the BIM, creating the shop drawings, all of that. I'd put it in the cloud through Bluebeam. It would sync to the guys in the field's computer, their iPads with a pen. They would redline them, do markups if there were changes that were different from my layout.
Doing the as-builts, basically.
Doing the as-builts. They would save them every week. I would get it back on my computer in the office. I would take those, update my drawings per that week. So when the drawing was done, when the project was done, they were like, hey guys, hand over your as-builts. We were like, bloop, done. Yeah. Like literally within a couple of days, we were done. No hard copy red lines with boot prints, coffee stains.
2 weeks returning it.
Yeah. Someone that was trying to remember what they did a year ago.
Yeah.
So that cyclical form of information, and that was years ago, right? But once they realized it, they were like, oh man, this is cool. I am still going out and teaching that exact same workflow to contractors now. It's still a problem. So,
and what are contractors? Are they receptive to it, or are they just?
Oh, they love it.
Okay.
Yeah, they love it. That is a huge problem. I have a whole presentation called Bridging the Gap, and ultimately I talk about like digital tools, right? And these are your digital tools. Well, what's a digital tool? That's your iPad. That's the cloud. That's your laptop. That's your drone. That's your AR, VR. These are all your digital tools. They're the exact same as a mechanical tool, right? Mm-hmm. You have a toolbox of mechanical tools. You open it up. I'm like, wire strippers. I need pliers, right? You have the same in your digital. You open up your digital toolbox. Well, what do I need for this job? I need my iPad. I need a cloud, and I need a Surface, right? But it's the same thing. You're not going to send some guy out, no training, and say, here are your mechanical tools. Go rough in that wall. You got to get the people. You got to get them trained. You understand how to use it, and then you turn them loose. It's the same with the digital tools. But looking at it that way, it really clicks with the contractor. They're like, oh yeah, I get it. Mechanical tools, digital tools. Mechanical tools make your life easier. Digital tools make your life easier if it's trained properly. If not, the iPad becomes a paper holder or a door holder or a Netflix, And it's just that mentality of getting people to understand, hey guys, there's this whole digital world that's out there that you don't even know.
And what's making contractors kind of be more receptive to it? Are they saving a lot more money? I'll be honest. As soon as you answer that, I'll be honest with you. I have some issues with the construction industry as of right now. But go ahead. What's driving that?
Okay, so as a designer, let's say the architect moves a wall. Okay,
you know what they like to say? They like to go, we just moved it 2 inches.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Or a door, we only moved it 6 inches.
Sure.
But they forget about the switches. They forget about the receptacles. They forget about everything.
2 inches? 2 inches is half of a pipe.
Yes.
Right. That's the difference from a pipe being in the wall.
Yes.
To a pipe being in the wall.
Right.
Right. But let's say an architect moves a wall. Okay. So Mr. Architect moves a wall. Mr. Designer has to move his pipe to get it in the wall. Okay, so now that change goes to the general contractor, right? So this is already in the construction side. Mm-hmm. It's already started.
It's getting built.
Yep, getting built. So it goes to the GC. So GC sends it out for bid. Okay, we need a change order for this. So here, prices for me. All the contractors put in a price, send it back. It goes back up that same chain, right? Okay, so let's follow that with hard copy.
Yeah.
How many hard copies have to go from point A to point D?
Well, back in the day, let's say we were doing government jobs, every time you issued something, it was like 6 sets.
Yeah.
6 sets of drawings, 6 sets of specs.
That is just the office side.
Yeah.
That's not counting the time that once it gets approved from the contractor, getting that information out to the guy in the field. Right. So now you still have another delay. So from the time they realize that they need to move, that the wall was moved, the contractor's probably blowing right past that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's your standard hard copy flow, right? With the digital flow, think about how much faster that is. Emailing, drag and drop to a cloud, and the guy in the field gets it instant.
Yeah.
You know, and it's ultimately, it's cheaper, no hard copies. Think about, you know, when you hit print, what's happening, right? So you hit print on a document, it goes to the printer. So you're using paper, you're using power, you're using ink.
Yeah.
Right. How many times is that document going to be printed? Hard copy.
Over and over and over.
So,
and depending on if there's something that you missed, there's an issue that you didn't catch, and you're redoing it and you're revising it. Yeah.
So you know, ultimately the whole it's cheaper, it's faster. That's why they're buying in on it. But
I like to hear that. I do.
Yeah, no, there's the technology world right now is we're literally like on the cusp, if not beginning a rapid increase in the construction industry, like right now. Right, that's what I'm like. So
well, that kind of goes back to what I want to tell you earlier. Is there's this weird thing happening where even though there's delay on equipment, prices are expensive, there's still a ton of construction. Mm-hmm. And then this is kind of on the design side. You know, and now granted, this is from my perspective. When you see I'm gonna be real ugly here. But the lack of skilled labor in the field, there's constant issues, constantly. And, you know, one thing that has bothered me my entire career is I see a general contractor on site, right? He's got his subs there. I come to walk the site, and there's tons of issues. And I never understand why the general contractor isn't doing that, saying, hey, you need to fix this. That way it's not even there when we get there. And so there was several years back before I got the job that I'm at now, I went to go apply at this place closer to the house. And I didn't, again, just like my whole life, I don't understand what I don't understand. I went there and I didn't get it. They were, you'll probably know who they are, but they basically were taking drawings from an MEP firm and they redrew it all. And I didn't understand. I was like, why are you redrawing it? And basically they're redrawing it so they can kick it out to some software that they have. And so it's literally getting to the point where when you're building a building, everything that's going in that building, there's pipe links already cut, there's fittings, there's fasteners. Mm-hmm. It's basically an erector set that's showing up at the job site. And that kind of takes out some of that human error or lack of skilled labor. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's where what you're talking about is crucial, because when they start cutting these pieces and putting these parts together to package them to send them out, your job's critical. One
step further. That's called prefab.
Prefab.
Right? Yeah. Prefabrication. So one step further. In the electrical, we're literally building racks of conduit that are 20 conduit, 30 conduit, huge 4-inch conduit runs from one piece of gear to another piece of gear.
And this is all happening in the shop.
They're building it in the shop, right? And they're shipping them out in containers, right? So why, right? What are the benefits of that? And this is not an argument. This is something that cusp I was telling you about. I go around the country right now explaining to people and teaching people how to do prefab. Mm-hmm. That's kind of part of, that's what I do, right? Yeah. That's part of it. I teach people prefab. I show them how to utilize their shop to do the prefab correctly, to focus on their workflow, streamline their workflow, how to get the model for your BIM model, because it doesn't have to start in your BIM model, but when you start getting onto large scale prefab, it's as good as your model. Get a detailed BIM model that's coordinated with the trades, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. You have your hangers. Your hangers are trimbled within a 32nd of an inch, or we'll call it a quarter of an inch out in the field. So the flow is you go out there, you get it all done, right? You coordinate it, you BIM it. You start doing your dimensions, right? Getting it ready to prefab. During that time, your Trimble guy goes out, shoots the points where all of your anchors are, right? At that time, he takes that same Trimble unit and he does a 3D scan of the building. And this scan will do 20 million points in about 10 minutes, right? So we have our model that we know where the structure is, right? But it's not always right. Go out there, we scan it. Now we know that it's right. We bring that scan back into the office. We align, do our final adjustments on our racks, get the racks built in the shop, and then they send them out. on trucks. And it's literally all the work is done in the shop, right? You have QC, you have controlled environment, you have engineers in the office right next to you. So if you have a question,
and all your tools,
your tools are right there within 10 feet from you.
Yeah.
So you have all this stuff right there. So all the labor is happening there under the guidance of really experienced guys that you have brought in. So when it goes out into the field, it's literally plug and play. You take this whole rack and you lift it up and you click it into place. Go to the next one and you click it into place. And what happens is like literally, we did a high rise downtown, and literally we could do a floor in less than a day of conduit, less than a day. And underground, right? Big, huge underground assemblies. A project got rained out. It was one of the few rainy seasons in Texas, so we had to pull all our electricians off of the shop.
Right now, I think you're lying.
I know. I don't believe myself. So, but we had to pull all the electricians into the shop. So instead of sending them back to the hall, we brought them in, and they kept working. They kept building the underground assemblies in the shop. We had them spread all over the parking lot, in the streets. It was like Jenga.
Yeah.
Right. But once the job site opened up, we got 3 trucks. And we're like big semis, and we were taking 3 to 4 of these assemblies at a time to the job site. Within a week, we were caught back up.
Really?
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what is how much time do you think companies are saving by doing it that way?
It depends. It depends on the phase. Underground, overhead, in wall, the lighting portion. But I think that and that's the question, right? That is like the $1 million question. How much time is actually being saved? I would say easy 20%.
Okay.
I would say 20%. But then there's the intangibles, right? Cleaner work environment, less injuries. Less injuries, cheaper insurance. Cheaper insurance, more chances you have of getting a job.
Yeah.
Right now, as you were talking about, the less than par labor.
Sure.
It's across all industries, right?
Yeah.
That's because the workforce is non-existent.
I spent 50 minutes at Whataburger trying to get my order. So
exactly. I had someone tell me the other day, if you don't like it, leave.
Yeah, we'll go
Wait,
where?
what? But
how dare you expect someone to get better at their job, Jared?
But that's where we are now, right?
Yeah.
So the prefab is filling a hole for lack of people.
Yeah.
And so there's all these intangibles that also account for prefab, but really the prefab is one of the biggest changes, and it's across all trades. And one of the things that we're looking at is the multi-trade, right? Coordinating mechanical, electrical, and plumbing on one rack and taking the whole rack out.
That's always a conflict, because every time we go walk a job site, there's always an issue. There's always piping over electrical pieces of equipment, and these are all code issues, that'll end up getting hammered. And one thing that I've said forever, and it makes me sound super intelligent, is I always say, you either pay now or you pay later. If you pay later, it's more expensive.
Yep.
So we can avoid those issues that require us to or the contractor to go rip something out that he's put in, fix whatever's damage done once he takes it out, and then reinstall it. I mean, that's a ton of money, man. It's a ton of time.
And that's the whole BIM side. We picked up. I can't tell you. And this is this is pretty funny, right? You're going to jump across the table here and beat me up, but
I ain't jumping nowhere, Jared.
We, as a contractor world, coming from the design side into the contractor world. In the contractor world, we always say, whatever the designers give us is never constructible.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. The designer is testing is checking flow. They're checking airflow. Electrical, we're just doing circuits, and they're
and a lot of it's trying to be compliant with code.
Exactly,
installing things that are going to pass once the inspector comes in.
Exactly, but not constructability.
Sure.
And that's where we have problems. And I'll give you a prime example. Every job that I get on the contractor world, literally almost every job, an electrical room has been picked very strategically to be on one side of an elevator, an exterior wall on the other side, a wet wall on the other side.
Where the water heaters are all
the water heaters are there. And then on the one wall that they give me to leave is a 10-foot ceiling corridor, right? That has like 13 inches of space to get all the conduit out. Mm-hmm. And then underneath it is on a beam.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no thought process. So what we've been.
You don't know. I'm on the plumbing side. You have no idea how many times the architect and structural engineers put a massive concrete beam under a bank of toilets that the sanitary sewer needs to go straight down.
It happens to electrical gear all the time. So what we've done, what we were doing, right, in the electrical world is immediately when we get the contract, the CDs, we take our gear and we put a clearance zone underneath them.
Okay.
My 8-foot clearance zone underneath our gear. And now we can tell immediately, before we even do our first submission of coordinated model, we take that, look at it, and we send it back to the design team saying, hey, we got RFIs. How am I supposed to get my conduit up to here?
Yeah.
But all of that being said, these are things that, as a contractor.
Well, let me stop you real quick. Well, that was one thing that I always thought was good at Don's. Was Don, from time to time, if you remember, he would bring in a contractor to sit in the conference room with us and tell us what we could do differently that would be more constructible. And that was super rare that somebody would do that.
Absolutely.
And you were there for it, but how many times would we go to a job site and the mentality with Don was, hey, we're on a team trying to put together a good product for the owner so it'll last a long time. And so when we get there was at the time back then, and it may be similar now, but back then there was this contractor versus designer, right? And it's like, well, there's no versus anything, right? We're trying to build something. We're trying to provide something to our client that's a good product. And it was crazy to watch contractors look at you like you were weird because you were willing to listen to what their thoughts were, you know? And so that was a rare thing. So being able to do this kind of eliminates that
yes,
process. Right?
Absolutely. So let's look at it, right? Because I love to make this analogy. We're in Texas. Got to talk football, right? So in the field, right, as an electrical contractor, you have the guys in the office and you have the guys in the field.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I try to explain to people, the contractors, is it's not my design. Right, because we call it design when we're BIMing it, right? We're relaying out all of the conduit and everything. It's not my design and your install, right? It's our project, right?
Yes.
Offense, defense. Same team, offense, defense. The project is like a district, right? Or like the SEC.
Sure.
Right? We're all competitive against each other. We're not going to give away all of our secrets, but ultimately, we all want success. Right. We all want the project to be a success. If electrical is successful, then mechanical is successful, then plumbing successful, then the GC is successful, right? So that's your SEC, right? So then you look at it as a whole, football league in construction, right? We want the designers, if they're successful, then the construction team is successful, then the owner is successful, then the architect is successful. So it's a crumb up, right, flow. If we start at the bottom, if we all make this a successful job, we walk away and we all got, had a successful job, our margins were good, we go on to the next job and you're building the relationships. But if it's always headbutting and fighting against each other and you told me to do this and I installed it this way.
Which happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah.
There's no winners. There really isn't.
One thing that, and I want to get more in depth into NECA, right? That's what it's called?
Electric. So NECA, National Electrical Contractors Association, they represent, they are the office side of the IBEW.
Okay.
IBEW is the...
what does IBEW stand for?
International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Okay.
Right, those are all the unionized electricians.
Gotcha.
And there's NECA, right? So we work together. Electri International is the R&D of NECA.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we are the tip of the spear when it comes to research and development for the electrical contractors.
That's pretty cool. Let me tell you this. One thing that I think is fascinating about this, and it can't just be the places that I've worked, but we lose our tail in CA. See, the budget in CA always blown because there's always issues, there's always conflicts, there's always RFIs. There's always something to have to redesign, or because a lot of times, especially in renovations, you don't know what's behind the wall till they tear it down. Yep. You don't know what's under the floor till they saw cut it.
Yep.
So there's always things that pop up, and when you're bidding a job, you can throw a percentage or something for that, but your CA can't be astronomical, or you're not going to get the job.
Yeah.
So we're constantly losing our tails on CA.
Yep. So what's happening
which, for people who know, construction administration.
Correct. So what's happening is on the contractor side. So a typical job: design, bid, build. right? You do the design, you bid the design, you build the design, okay? What's happening is you're starting to see a shift to design build, right? To where the contractor has an engineer on staff, or the contractor
hires the
engineer, and now they're building the job as they're designing the job, right? And what you're starting to see, and there's a couple reasons that, or a couple benefits of that. Your gear, like electrical gear right now, 60 to 80 weeks.
It's crazy.
60 to 80 weeks.
We're doing a lot of generator jobs right now. Some are a year out.
You're lucky. If it's a year, you're lucky.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
It's way out there.
So what's happening is the design build, they're able to order the gear during the design, which is usually 6 to 8 months before construction.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see that. That's kind of starting to, help out some of those issues, because now you literally are partnering up with the design team.
What's the issue with those long lead times, do you think? Or
Well, I have a pretty good idea, right? Okay. So I've talked to, I deal with this a lot. So the Schneider, the Gray Bar, these distributors, there are a lot of people say it's COVID. Everyone points COVID. But what's happening is, as of last year, compared to last year, they're 140%. So they have increased 40% than they did last year. That's a big, huge change.
Yeah.
But what's happening is EV, right? The EV charging stations, that piece of gear is the same piece of gear that they put inside of an electric room.
Okay.
Right? You know the Buc-ee's over there? They have like 16 of them.
Yeah.
So those Tesla chargers, the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles, all these huge data centers, they go buy electrical equipment like they're shopping at Sam's. So they're buying them in bulk.
Yeah.
Right? So now it's...
Well, those data centers, there's so many... You know what we found coming up? Bitcoin places.
Yeah.
People harvesting Bitcoin.
Huge
they're
power.
using tons of energy, yeah.
Yes, huge power. But all that, it's just, there's this huge push right now for electrical gear.
Yeah.
And there's not enough. So this is not a short term. Like I've been to conferences, I've sat in on this, I've talked to the guys, I've talked to the R&D guys. This is not short term. This is 3 to 5 years, 7 years. This is going to be an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
So what they need to do or what they are doing is they're shifting it to ordering that gear as far in advance as they can.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that being on kind of the front end of these...
Let me just tell you real quick. I know I'm cutting you off a lot, but man, I love nerding out with you, man. This is so much fun. I'm sorry, Barbara. Barbara's over there looking cute, and we're just here being big old nerds. But go ahead.
But there's so much opportunity right now for improvement. So what I tell people, nothing forces innovation, or nothing generates innovation faster than forced change.
Yeah.
Right. So
and that's where we're at right now.
That's exactly where we're at, right?
Yeah.
For a while there, we had the option to innovate and the option to change.
And people won't do it. It's expensive,
It's more expensive not to.
Right. What is that? What was that guy from Halliburton read something? I always get a kick out of when that meme pops up. It says, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait till you hire an amateur.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, but let's take a look at this, right? Just, I don't know how much time we have, but let's take a look at this.
We got all day. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, remote work, right? Remote work frowned upon, right? Before COVID. No, you need to have your butt in that chair.
There's some places still frowning upon it.
I know there is. But, so COVID hit, right? So I was pushing it where I was like, look guys, let's get ready. We've got the ability, we've got the infrastructure. We had a workflow, whether it be rough, but we had people that were working from home. They were able to remote in, so we had our problems solved. COVID hit, boom, everyone go home. So we had our backbone.
Yeah.
So the BIM team, we were gone that day. By the next day, we were daily meetings, we were remote work, logging hours, blah, blah, blah. The project managers had no idea.
Yeah.
They had security issues with their laptops. They had remote login issues. They had speed issues. They had connection issues from their house, right? They had the ability to track time, right? They had no idea. All these things they didn't know, right? So everyone got sent home. They went home a few days later. They went through the struggles, COVID ends. Okay, everyone, let's get back. Like, everyone's got to work from home or work from the office now.
Yeah.
All that innovation, all that money they spent with the training, all of that to get everyone working.
Make sense. Yeah.
Throw it in the trash, right? They were forced to change. And then they went back. A lot of companies didn't. A lot of companies said, you know what? We're seeing that these people are wanting to work more hours, weekends, right? Just flexible hours.
Yeah.
Some people work at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And as long as you're there for your meetings, who cares, right? So why go backwards, right? QR codes. That's another one I use.
A lot of places did.
They did. They sure did. And they just threw away all that money. All that investment that they took, all that time they took, they threw it all away. I know a company that when it happened, they said they closed their office. Not only did they send people home, they shut down their office. They said, we're not going backwards.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They shut down their office. They're in Silicon Valley. The owner stayed there. He had a few people that are like, look, I have to work from an office. They quit. He's like, okay, fine. They quit. He ended up hiring better people from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Colorado, Wyoming.
When you think about it as an employer, when you're set up that way, you no longer are restricted to hiring people in your local area. You can hire talent all over the friggin' country, or if not the world.
That's right. That's right. And nowadays, like we said, workforce doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Right. We're having a problem with it. Expand. I mean, exponentially, city, county, state, nation.
Sure.
So you get this pool that you can pull from.
Yeah.
So he had a few people that quit. He had a few people that stayed with him and moved, and then he hired people from different parts of the country. His team probably twice as good as it was when he had his office.
That's awesome to hear.
So QR codes, right? Like my dad, no idea what a QR code before COVID.
It's that little square thing with a lot of little square things in it.
It is. It is. So QR code before, no idea. Now you don't go to a restaurant without having a QR code option, right? So everyone knows how to do a QR code.
You're going to think I'm an idiot. I just used a QR code on Cash App yesterday, and the guy I was paying $30 to for some really good buñuelos had to show me how to do it. And when he did it, I felt like my dad, because I looked at him like he was from outer space. Yeah. I said, how'd you do that?
Well, so, we were talking about bridging the gap, right, of communication. What if you were to put a QR code on a hard copy? You have those guys that still want the hard copies. You're never going to get rid of it. You just try to minimize them, right?
Yeah.
But you put that QR code on a hard copy, you send it out, and now the guys who don't want that hard paper can scan that QR code with their phone and bring their plan up on a PDF.
Or even their iPad.
Yeah, exactly. The iPad, the phone, any smart device.
Yeah.
So, I just introduced that tag to you.
What is this? Because you did, it's literally just a little round piece of plastic. And it's magic.
It's an RFID tag, and if you hold it up to the light, you probably see a little circuit board in there.
What does RFID stand for?
Remote frequency identification, I think. But ultimately,
so there's a chip sandwiched in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. You program it with your phone. You can put all kinds of stuff on it. Contact information. I put your podcast on that one.
Okay.
You can put tons of information on whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the same technology you have in your credit card when you tap the. Same technology, except you're tapping it on your phone.
And so you can put any kind of data you want on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
just about.
Like you said, your cell phone, your email address. So if you're trying to share, they can put these on business cards then.
So they can. So like I ordered 60 stickers.
Okay.
Right? There's a sticker. It looks like a little atom. I'm going to put them on the back of a business card. And now when you have a business card, you don't even have to have a business card. You can just hold the card up to your phone. They'll tap it on the phone and boom, they'll have my contact information. That one is a link to your podcast. So like you could put that wherever you wanted, in your wallet, whatever, you could put it on there. And then anyone who wants to see your podcast, just tap your phone to it.
Can you get these like with some sort of information, like something laminated on it, like scan me?
Whatever you want. You can custom, you upload a picture.
Jared, you just turned me on to something cool. I'm going to need more information.
I will give you all the information you want. And those things cost about 13 cents.
Really?
Maybe.
Really? And could you imagine getting job opportunities or projects from people from something that was
absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
So like I am again thinking outside the box, right?
Yeah.
So there's tons, and this is what I love about that. It's limitless, right? Whatever you can think of, you can put on there. So
this is what's cool about you and me. is I'm the guy who still wants to go back. I don't really want to, but the guy that goes back to the office or the guy that uses paper, I have no clue this even exists. Mm-hmm. And I think part of what I'm excited about this podcast is I want you to tell me about the stuff that doesn't exist, and in doing so, telling all the listeners about our job opportunities, cool things that they can do for a living that they don't even realize it exists or is coming down the pipe that you're exposed to.
Absolutely. There's tons, right? So this RFID or NFC tag, there's tons of literally anything you can think of. So technology, let's talk about technology that we use day to day, right? That people don't realize is in the field.
Yeah.
Okay. iPad. Okay. So you've got your iPad, Sugar Crush or Candy Crush or whatever the name of that game is. Netflix, all the stuff that everyday uses of iPads.
Chick-fil-A order app.
Well, that's really important stuff, but I'm talking about, but yeah, stuff like that. So let's say that you turn around and that iPad can now be used to fly a drone, right? To record your drone footage. To the software on there, when you fly your drone, it can scan spoils piles and determine how far along the underground job is based on the piles the dirt that has been dug so far.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they can. You can use it to again, let's talk about drone and the iPad first.
Okay.
You can take the drone, fly the drone, bring the layout of the field into your Revit model, and then draw on top of that as an as-built. So now you know exactly where your underground is, or exactly where your in-slab conduit is, right? There's a program, Sitescape, that's on the new iPads, but there's many of them on there, but that utilizes LiDAR. Okay, so LiDAR is a new function that is on these iPads. Basically, you can.
So is LiDAR on the software, or is LiDAR in the drone?
The LiDAR is in the iPad. It's the other camera. There's a camera on there.
It does have a LiDAR scanner.
That one does?
I believe so.
Oh, if it does, I'll show you how to use it. Awesome. But if it has a LiDAR scanner, what you can do is you can take this can, and you can take your iPad and go around it, and it creates a 3D model of it. Right? You can take that model and import it into your Revit. You can import it into your Autodesk software that creates, that. The cloud aspect of the iPad. So the iPad, there's tons of uses for this iPad, right? I know, guys, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say you probably use it more than the average guy.
Maybe.
But ultimately, that's 8th grade, 7th grade technology.
Yeah.
These guys are in 7th or 8th grade, right? And they're exposed to this technology. The drones the same way. The ability for them just to connect with the technology so quickly because they've grown up with it. Mm-hmm. So at NECA, with Electri, right, we focus on this stuff. We actually have a person, and this person this job is starting to pop up on all the local NECA chapters as well. It's the director of future development. And the reason is because we know there's a gap coming. Mm-hmm. For every 10 electricians that retire, 6 or 7 are filling its space. So there's a hole in a bucket.
Yeah.
Right. So what they're doing is they're saying, you know what? Again, football analogy. How many kids don't play football until their junior year? And then all of a sudden they get into football and they play varsity, right? It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They start in middle school. They start early high school, and that's still late. So why can't the trades do the same thing? Why can't we get the kids exposed to the technology and construction in 7th, 8th grade to where when they're still influential on what they want to do growing up, they get into high school, maybe that high school has a construction technology class or a construction class.
Which is what I was telling you. I think they started that down south.
That's right. So now they get this technology or this construction class and they go through school. Well, what if, and there's companies, or there's chapters that are doing this, or companies that are doing this, their senior year, they're going to start the apprenticeship program to get into the IBW, or they're going to go work for a contractor as an internship. Why not sign them? Here's a piece of paper, sign your name to it. Here's a hat and here's a jacket from the contractor. Do a signing day for the trades.
That'd be different and exciting.
Right? Because now they're just, why if they're going into the trades, they're just as important as those kids in athlete. And it's a lot easier on their bodies. Yeah. And they don't get a college They don't have to worry about a college debt. All of this is college free. Concept classes, and if anyone who's listening, right, if you have access or you know about these opportunities at school, an easy one to start with is your drone pilot. Anyone can get that drone pilot's license, $200, right? Anyone can get it. You get that license, you're immediately employed.
You're making me feel stupid for not getting my drone's license already.
Yeah, you're immediately employed. You walk across that stage. You don't, and a very lucrative career that is, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
You know, there's just all this opportunity out there that people don't know. I literally go to, like, I went to a conference last year, or in June, that was American Counselors Association. It was in Austin. We showed them all this technology, AR, VR, drone, augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality, drones, the iPad. They didn't even know it existed. You know, and we're showing them how to use it in construction, and they're like, this is amazing. Yeah. You know, literally, you know it's a good career when they're like, how do I get into that? You know?
Well, I keep wanting to say that, but I haven't yet, Jared. You know, or the company I'm at right now, they have a, I guess, high voltage transmission line department. Mm-hmm. And recently, I would say within the last year, they started a drone department. Mm-hmm. And they literally started that drone department to save money, because what they're doing with the drone now, they used to hire a helicopter crew to go do. Mm-hmm. And they would fly helicopters on these job sites to get these LiDAR scans or whatever they're doing. And they're saving a ton of money now. And I haven't gotten a deep conversation with the drone department, but it's my understanding it's a matter of setting your waypoints and sending it and just watching it, observing it to make sure nothing happens weird or you got to swap batteries. But it's saving time, it's saving money, and it's created an opportunity for other people that are in this technology kind of forefront, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. And I was at the NICA conference, and there's a company out there, and I'll get you the name of them because I can't remember, but they actually take drones, and there is a device that the drone clicks onto the transmission lines, and it detects like power, it detects faults, it detects like all this information that it's and it transmits it back. So it's all done through a drone, right? So you have to have the drone pilot. That's the hard part. It's the drone pilot. The other part's all automated, right? But again, it's just limitless opportunity on something that people probably got for Christmas last year that they just fly around their house and annoy their cats, you know? Well, you know what's funny is like, I got it, when I got my drone, it's a small little DJI Spark. I really like it. I like flying it. And to be honest with you, that thing takes pretty decent photo and video. But it's like, here I am going, okay, I need to get licensed. I need to start using it for some sort of purpose, because I would say probably 80% of the time that I've flown this thing has been in the house. Yeah. You know, and it throws papers all over the place. The dogs hate it, but it's small enough that I can fly it in the house. I can get images indoors if I need to. We've gone to our nephew's gym and taken photos before, shot video there. But at the same time, I can still fly it up 400 feet and take an overall photo of something. And it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. And that's the thing is, if you love the technology, right? And you obviously, if you've been playing with it for, as a kid or whatever, you're going to love it. Yeah. You wake up in the morning, you're like, wow, what do I get to do today? Yeah. Right. Oh man, I got my drone. I get to go fly it here. Right. I've got my iPad. I'm going to, do this with it, and a lot of the cool stuff about hanging out on drones, a lot of the cool thing about the drone stuff is just seeing things from a perspective that you would never see otherwise. Oh, yeah. Well, and this is the thing about the technology, right? And this is why it's such a cool trade or, option for work. It's new, right? If you are a thinker outside of the box, man, the sky's the limit. Yeah. You can... Who knows what you can use a drone for, right? Like I said, the spoils, the as-built, real estate, fence building, right? Like, ranchers, they have to go, drive their fence line. What if you could fly it, right? I literally, when we were in Colorado, I was chasing yaks
with it.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, there was like some yaks in the field, and I was trying to get up close to them, and they were like jumping around everywhere. But one of the guys is like, man, there was a guy chasing them around on 4-wheelers trying to get him in a trailer. They need to do the drone.
Yeah.
I was like, you could actually hurt him, you know, but the sky's the limit. What can you do with, well, whatever you can think of, you know, hey, flying your bait out from the beach, you know, it's like, there's tons of things you can do with it. So it's just, you know, but that's like that with all technology.
Yeah. I was telling you earlier, my buddy that's in the oil field, or at least I think he was in the oil field. I think he's changing careers right now, but he said they would use these drones to, I guess, take images of where they're going to lay the gear, the equipment, and they would have everything laid out in the office. That way, when they showed up to the job site to set up the oil rig and set up all the pipe and all the equipment that they needed, they had it all planned out. And that way, when they get there, similar to having these prefab construction parts, you know, they show up and they know where everything's going.
Site. You can go out there, fly site before you even get out there, and you can know where your road needs to go. You can know where you want to put your gear. You know, it's like you said, it's everything. But you know, there's lots of things with this technology. But one thing I don't want to like skip over is the fact that with this leap right now that we have with the technology, the opportunity for the kids is huge. Is huge. We need to, as a trade. And plumbers the same way, right? You know, our guys spend time in the ditches. Yeah, they do, right? It's just, you know, it's part of the job. But what I want the parents to understand is that's not all of the job. When they say, "Hey, mom, dad, I want to get into construction," there's this whole other world of construction that's out there that people don't know. It's the technology. It's sitting behind the desk, sitting with your AR goggles, with your VR goggles. It's being a field guy, but running a Trimble unit, running a scanner. There's all this technology world that's out there. Don't push your kids away from being in construction, you know, and it's a hard sell. They don't have to go. I'm in that same group. I had 3 kids, right? That were raised all in the same house, same rules, same everything. One college, she was a brainiac. One athlete, one guy who's in the band, right? I pushed them all to college, but it's not for everybody. Yeah. One went to college, right? The other 2 did not. They're doing just fine. Yeah. There's this whole other world out there of kids have an option, you know? And
I think that was part of my issue was I wasn't a college guy. I like learning. I love learning. I love problem solving. But being stuck in a classroom going through a book wasn't something that appealed to me. You know, the drafting, being able to draw things out and use tools to draw. We were doing hand drafting at the very beginning, and then we went into AutoCAD. Like, I enjoyed that aspect of it. You know, having to sit in a classroom and reading books and listen to lectures, yeah, that's part of learning. But at the same time, being able to be hands-on, you know, with a piece of equipment, with a piece of technology that's, like you said, right now, it's kind of on the cusp of heading out in that direction. To be able to be a part of that and maybe even help innovate its uses, that's freaking awesome.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
That's where we are. We're literally, there are kids coming out of high school, 18, 19 years old, that are going to work for a trade that are coming up with ideas that are changing the way that company's workflow is. Yeah. You know,
well, that's the problem is the construction industry's been, it's been doing the same thing forever, you know? So there's a lot of room for innovation at a lot of places. There's a few, like you're talking about, a lot of construction companies that are more receptive to it now, but there's still so many that are just kind of holding on, you know? And same thing in the engineering side, the design side. Where I'm at now, we kind of started really heading in a direction of technology and iPads and Bluebeam, and all of a sudden it got weird. All of a sudden we're printing out hard copies again, and there's stacks of paper everywhere, and people can't find things, and it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah. So what I think is the craziest thing is you have these super technology companies, you know, that people assume, man, their job site's got to be awesome, right? Yeah. They've got tons of technology, but those jobs. And, you know, those are the ones that you go step on their job site, and it's like stepping back into 1986. Yeah. No digital phones, no pictures, no computers, no technology on there, hard copies only.
Well, because the owner's still there, and he's 83 years old running it.
No. This is the Amazons, the Facebooks, the Microsofts, Those
Why is
job
that?
sites, they don't want that. That's trade secrets. It's government, like the amount of government usage for Amazon.
Gotcha.
You know, but those job sites, literally like 1986.
Jeez.
It's like you don't have any technology at all
Well,
on that.
it's
job
funny
site.
that why wouldn't they come out with their own proprietary technology?
That's
to do
the
those kind of
$1 million
things?
question.
You know?
Hell, they're so smart.
Yeah.
You know, they come all this. Why not have some firewall that is that the devices stay on the job site. They don't leave. The technology does not leave that job site. You know, but no, literally, you cannot. They have security guards. You cannot take your phone. We had our Trimble unit. We had to use the Trimble that couldn't take pictures.
Really?
Right, to go out there. So it's pretty crazy, you know.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so you go out to these super technology companies that are like, that's what they tout. You know, they brag about their technology, and they're like, okay, here you go. Here's a slide rule and a Polaroid.
Yeah.
You know, do the job. You know.
That's crazy. Hey, you know, last time we talked about this, it was over the phone, and I wanted to ask you. You had mentioned something about a robotic dog that comes in after hours, robots putting up sheetrock. What is some other stuff that I have no clue that happens on job sites that's starting to pick up speed? Because
Okay.
I'd imagine there's somebody who's got to maintain those dogs, download the data, process the data. I mean, these
That's
are all
all in the
jobs.
cloud.
Okay.
That's all on the cloud. That dog is automated.
Really?
It recognizes it. It's Spot. His name is Spot. It's a Trimble
I would have
dog.
named him Killer.
I know, Cujo. Cujo. Why do you name Cujo? Because, man, he's killing the job. Killing the job. So Spot is a fully automated robot. It can recognize stairs. It can climb up and down stairs. It can climb up and down dirt piles. It has different attachments you can put on it, but the one that is generally used in this application is a scanner. So basically, when the job site's closed, everyone's gone. The dog Spot will get up, walk the job site, and scan what was been installed that day. Right. So he'll go through. He'll scan, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. He'll come back, and he docks himself. So he'll go back to his dock. He'll sit down. He'll charge himself. Doghouse. And then he syncs to the cloud. All of the scans will go to the cloud.
He's recharging while he's
doing it. So then the guy in the office comes in. When he comes in, that information's on the cloud already. So it's synced up to his computer. So now he's able to bring it into his model and say, okay, did the mechanical install like we coordinated? Did the electrical install like we coordinated?
And they can check progress too, right? Mm-hmm. Wow.
How far along the project is. So there's that. There's augmented reality. The HoloLens. I should have brought it.
What is that?
So it's a hard hat.
Okay.
With a helmet that's got a HoloLens on it.
Okay.
A HoloLens is like glasses, basically, but it's a TV screen, right? So you can load the model inside of the glasses.
That's crazy.
And as you're walking, you can see everything outside of you, but you see the digital world that you coordinated overlaid into the real world. So you can walk around a job site that has like just structure up, but you can see all the trades that have been coordinated and color coded, in that same HoloLens that you can take a PDF and you can overlay the PDF to where the PDF covers the concrete. So now you're walking the job site and you're seeing your CDs printed basically on the concrete. So again, I was telling you the Trimble points were the anchors.
Yeah.
There's rays of light, little laser beams that you see in your HoloLens. That's just a ray of light coming up from each point. So you tell it I want to go to point 1, and then you look out on the job site and you'll see a light come up.
So it helps
and you
you
walk
find that
straight
location.
to it, and you put your prism, and then the robot, the RTS, the Trimble equipment, right, will turn to you, and it'll shoot that point, and then the next one will pop up, and you walk next to it. So it's pretty cool stuff.
That's crazy.
I'm working with a company right now, August Robotics, out of Australia, and I'm helping them develop a workflow for the electrical contractor to print on the concrete.
Okay.
Your CDs.
Yeah.
So I want them to print the points that you want to go lay out, your anchors. I want them to print it on the concrete. So instead of having to take a Trimble, you can just take a little laser, stick it on that point, and go straight up. But
Would something like that also help them lay out the walls and everything else?
Sure. Yeah. So you're probably thinking, oh man, a robot that prints on the ground. Yeah. It's like, beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
HP just has one.
Really?
Yeah. HP. How many HP printers are out there?
Does it literally print on the ground, or is it just like a set of goggles and you're
No,
watching?
it prints.
Okay.
It prints on the ground. So it literally prints on the ground. So you could have again structure with no walls up, and you could look and you could see, here's a wall, here's a door, here's my plumbing penetrations.
Well, on the plumbing, speaking of plumbing, because that's what I'm doing, we did a project recently where we had to saw cut the floor, an existing floor. And it took a lot of coordination, drawings of, hey, what section are we taking out? What are we keeping? So to be able to like go and print that so the contractor knows exactly where to saw cut.
Even better. The HoloLens, you're looking up, you're seeing all the trades. You can look down and you can see the floor boxes and you can see the conduit. As long as it was installed like it was drawn, you can take that HoloLens and you can walk through there and you can see all the trades that are underground or in the concrete. Now, the caveat is it's got to be installed like it was drawn.
Yeah.
But if you have that documentation to back it up, now you don't have to x-ray to do a core.
Yeah.
You can see, okay, I'm clear here and you can do a core.
Even before that, talking about printing on the foundation, to be able to say, hey, this is where we want these cutouts. This is where we want you to saw cut. That took a lot of coordination too, because there's a lot of things structurally going on. There's a lot of other issues. So be able to overlap the existing structural, because a lot of times you don't have existing drawings, but sometimes you do. And again, assuming it was installed according to those structural drawings, that would help you, I'd imagine, overlay those different types of disciplines to say, hey, this is the area that we need to avoid. This is the area we need to cut. And then it would print it, before the contractor even started saw cutting.
Sure.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, there's a lot. There's just a ton of technology out there that is, I'm working with a company right now that is, you scan your specs, right? You scan your
specs.
You scan your specs, what the design team wants you to use. You scan your contract documents, and you scan your bill of materials, like your parts list, right? You get all that information and you link it to your regional supply house. You push a button, right? You bring it into your Revit, you push a button, and AI will determine the best routing for all your conduit, right? It knows where stairs are, it knows where columns are, it knows where elevator chases are, it knows where your electrical rooms are. The AI will determine the best routing for your conduit, and then it will give you choices. Yeah. Are you interested in, A, B, C, D? But it will literally lay out a BIM model in 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
In what would have taken me, which I'm pretty quick, a week to do. Yeah. But you're like, okay, so that's cool, right? That's pretty awesome, but what else does it do? What if you were able to bid a job based off of the model you were actually going to build?
Yeah.
Right now you're not guessing. Right now the estimating is doing it one way.
Yeah.
Building design in most places, right? Estimating's do it one way. The guys in the BIM model are doing it another way, and then they get it to the install, and then they're doing it another way.
Yeah.
What if it was all right from the beginning? Now you're getting an accurate historical data.
I mean, I would imagine something like that would help a contractor be profitable, but at the same time still save money for the owner.
It's
because you've got an extremely accurate install layout.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's funny because I'm listening to you talk about this stuff, and I've been to job sites before where the contractors, the subcontractors, have no access to the specifications. You ask, hey, where are your specs? Oh, the GC keeps it locked up in his office. And it's like, well, You need these. There was a job recently, Jared. Check this out. I go there, I'm walking it, and I call the contractors over, and I say, hey, none of this piping's where it needs to be. This has to get moved. This is in a doorway. And I'm like, have you looked at the drawings? Where are your drawings? And the guy reaches in his back pocket and he pulls out a sketch that his supervisor drew up for him that showed dimensions, how far from where. And I said, where are your drawings? Where's your below floor plan? He's like, I don't have it. And I'm like, you're installing this piping and you don't have the construction documents? You have a sketch,
On paper or a napkin?
It was a heavy duty napkin.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like those, when we were talking earlier about, the skilled labor part of it, it's like, that's crazy to me.
But see, it's so uncalled for, and it's so preventable.
Yes.
Right?
And it costs more money.
It does.
That's what we're talking, the pay now, pay later.
Yeah.
That's the pay later.
Well, the thing is that how easy would it be to install a drop box?
Yeah.
You have the digital fields. The specs are locked up in the GC's office. Why? Why aren't there digital copies on every iPad?
Yeah.
You know, the QR codes, right? Some of the stuff that I'm working on. How would you like to have our NFC tag in the job site trailer that as you're walking out, you hit it, you tap it on your phone, boom, you got documents on your phone.
They all have their damn phone on them.
Oh, absolutely. They're sitting there ordering Amazon.
They don't have the construction documents, but they got their phone. So yeah, that'd be awesome to even just for them to view it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to sketch. They don't have to make any changes.
No.
All they got to do is zoom in a little bit and they can see what those dimensions are, see where things are in relation to everything
Literally
else. Yeah.
tap your phone.
It's crazy.
You know, you could, like I said, stickers. What if you put that sticker on a 11 by 17 that was taped to the wall
Put it on your hard hat. Put it on your hard hat for the day.
Like I said, innovation. Hey, all reality, or in all honesty, you have a badge.
Yeah.
What if you had a badge that had your in case of emergency, your blood type, your any special, you know, boom, you fall, beep, you scan your NFC tag, and your safety guy knows everything about you.
Hey, one more sticker for your construction document.
That's right.
Tag,
right.
So.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you guys still in the, and I'm sure you are, and you'll probably be forever, in the R&D phase of this? Or what are you guys doing, or what is that portion of the industry doing to turn kids onto this? And for one, like we talked about earlier, there was so much when I was in high school, I had no clue what I didn't know. So how are you guys reaching these kids in high school or even younger to say, hey, these are opportunities you might want to explore? You know, wise up to it.
So in any way we can,
okay.
Right? So
are you doing something currently?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So we have something that's called Industry Connect, right? That's put on by our developer, you know, the career development, and then I'm their technology guy. Okay. Travel around the country.
It's so funny to hear you being the technology guy because I've seen you do some wild country stuff. But anyway, go ahead.
Hey, so I was like what I was telling Barbara. I'm a contact redneck, right? Yeah. So we're going out. Like I'm doing an event. I think it's Milwaukee.
Okay.
That is for the Girl Scouts.
Oh, cool.
Right. So it's Girl Scouts aged girls, but we're getting out there and we're showing them the construction, the AR, the VR, the drones. We're showing them all this technology that they're using in construction. The Industry Connect is an event that we go to NECA chapters around the country, and we encourage contractors to come in, and we also reach out to the schools in the area that have construction technology, and we put them in a room together, and we teach them all about the technology, and we blend the contractors and the students together.
Yeah.
So 3 contractors, 2 students, you know, and we get the students exposed to the contractors, we get the contractors exposed to the students, we get them all exposed to the technology. And we did one in Atlanta, and we've done one in Pennsylvania already. And what we're seeing is that those kids become interns for
that's cool.
The contractors. We have an entire instruction guide on how to build an intern program that focuses on the trades. Yeah. So we are hitting it real hard on trying to find ways to get that technology out.
I like hearing that because, you know, I always feel like, especially when we were younger, I always feel it's so weird. There's a lot of kids that have a lot of direction in high school, and then there's a lot of kids that don't. Mm-hmm. And those kids that don't, it's almost like as soon as you graduate high school, they flip a switch and they kick you out and they're like, go figure out life, right? Yep. So it's so cool to have, you know, an industry come into, and maybe it does in other schools, and again, just something else I don't know about, but it's so nice to have an industry have access to these schools to be able to go, hey, if you're interested in this, there's an opportunity for you, you know, so you don't have to stress about what you're going to do next. You don't have to, you know, if you want to go to college, great. If you don't, there's still other opportunity. And I think that's where we kind of drop the ball a little bit is a lot of it is you can't have a life without having a college degree. But the opposite's true. You know, you can have a life, you can have a career. You just have to know what those avenues are and be exposed to them so you can learn about them and head in that direction.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
That was me to a
You don't know what you don't
know.
So that's what we are trying to prevent. We're trying to get out there and say, hey, kids, here's an option. Like I said earlier, 7th grade. There's literally, Autodesk has a program called Tinkercad. It's free. It is built for third and fourth graders.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Legos.
Wow.
And
that's young.
it's built. It's literally built for third and fourth graders. It's from Autodesk.
Yeah.
It starts with Legos and Lincoln Logs and all that. But when you're building these things, it's making a 3D model.
Yeah.
So it's getting them to think in that environment at that age. But there is a huge gap, right, that I think is starting to get recognized. We're recognizing it. The mechanical guys are recognizing it. And I think it's out of necessity, right? We've got to find an alternate source for workforce.
Yeah.
And you know, we're making leaps and bounds on it. We still got a lot to do. We still got a lot, you know, we're always going to be doing it.
Sure.
Right. Just is going to be something we're going to change with the times. We're going to evolve. But ultimately, it's a shift in the mindset of, you know what? Yeah, it's great. Let's focus. We still focus on the college. You know, they still have the ECIC. It's like Electrical Contractors Initiative. But it's basically they give these big colleges, right? Iowa State, Penn State, Duke, their engineering classes an electrical project. Oh. And they say, here you go, do this project. And they do it from beginning, from design, bid, build, all the way up. And then the top three come to wherever NECA National is, and then they get scholarships.
That's cool.
So they'll get, like, the winning team will get a scholarship. So the winning team was Iowa State, I think, this year.
That's cool. And that's the stuff that kids need to be learning. You know, it's very interesting because, like, in the electrical engineering industry, we hire a lot of guys with electrical degrees that don't do basically commercial construction electrical. Mm-hmm. They do like electronics kind of things, right? And that's what they're. I think St. Marcus and maybe UTSA or similar to that. So we're hiring these guys that have some sort of electrical understanding, but not really voltage kind of things, you know. And so and nobody's teaching them how to draft. Nobody's teaching them the software. They're not learning Revit. They're not learning. They might have a class, but it's like firms now this is on the engineering side, not the construction side. Firms want you to do your own drafting. You know, like we talked about earlier, it's not hey, one or the other. It's like, no, you need to know the software. You know, and if you're not exposed to the software, which eventually is going to, in the future, like what you're saying, is going to connect to the construction side, you know, because all this is going to communicate through the software. If you don't know the software, you're already way behind.
So what we had found in the electrical contractor, I was the BIM guy, right? I was a software guy, but not an electrician, right? I learned the electrical field from the electricians that I trained with the software. We brought electricians in. I trained them in the software. They trained me in the electrical trade. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, that was the point of shift from BIM and spatial allocation to VDC and designing and prefabbing, because now the electricians were drawing exactly what they built in the field. Yeah, these are guys that have spent 30 years in the field, and we trained them in Revit. Trained them in Navisworks. They learned how to draw in Revit. They learned how to do clash detections in the model and things that these guys never thought they would know how to do. Yeah. They learned, and it was huge. And that's what we ended up deciding, was that for our workflow, having one software champion and then multiple electricians that could come to him and learn the software, that was a sweet spot. Yeah. Because you can always teach the software. You can't teach the trade. The trade is learned, you know, over years and years. So you're right. There is that software guy. But in the construction world, there's also that trade guy. Yeah. You know, who's the best BIM guy? I was always asked, who's the best BIM guy? Who's the best BIM guy? There's not best BIM guy.
I always just say Jared Christman. That's what I do.
No, and you know what I say? I say the best BIM guy is the blend of the two. Yeah. You know, the BIM and the field. Yeah. But no, this is one of those things, and like we talked about earlier, I wake up in the morning and I pinch myself. I'm like, this can't really, you know, be my job. You know, I love what I do. You know, the office is in DC. I go to DC whenever I want. I travel around the country. I wanted to be a teacher. Yeah. Right. When I first out of high school, when they said, "What do you want to be?" I want to be a teacher. Well, that didn't work out, right? You got to be smart to be a teacher.
Well, so, I know a few, Jared.
so what happened was, I got into the you know, construction and all that. But what happened is, I'm able to teach.
Yeah.
I'm able to teach about something that I love.
Yeah.
So it's like, I tell Barbara, I retired in April. Now I wake up in the morning, I love what I do. I'm excited to go to work. My boss literally has to tell me, stop working.
Yeah.
Don't work. Do not work this weekend.
Well, it's exciting, man. And it's exciting to be on the front end of that stuff, It's exciting because, everything new that you're learning is something the majority of people don't know about yet. So how exciting is that? I mean, that's better than sitting in the cubicle pushing paper, which is, but it's still a job.
Yeah, it is a job, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the axe to fall. I'm waiting, but in reality, like I talked to some people that were in DC and they've been in DC for 15, 17 years. And I told them, because it was at night, we were coming back from a reception or a party, and,
hey, you were looking dapper the other night. Barbara was looking smoking.
so I told them, hey, I'm dreading the day that I come out of our office and I'm not just amazed. And they said, we've been here 15, 17 years. We're still amazed. Right.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. But on that point about being dapper, that brings me to us pretty funny. So we make a big joke, right? Because you talked about it earlier that you've seen me make some redneck stuff. And in all honesty, it's like I in my truck right now, duct tape and baling wire, because you don't ever go anywhere without those two things. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's my thing with you is like, to me, I have you in my back pocket. To me, it's like, if I need to know some drafting stuff, I'm going to call Jared. And if I need to know some redneck stuff, I'm going to call Jared.
So what we laugh about is the fact that, like, there's Texas Jared, right? There's my hat, my Hawaiian shirt that I live in, my
dog food shark fishing.
That dog food shark fishing, right? The chair, my surf chair that I made out of conduit, stuff like that, right? Yeah. But now, so when I got interviewed for this job, right, I called my boss and he's like, hey, we need you to come to DC to interview. Okay, cool. I can do this. Blue jeans, my boots, nice dinner jacket, button up. I told him this is what I was going to wear. He's like, no. He was like, you're coming to DC. So he did put it,
okay, I'll buy a bolo tie.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll button the top button. No, but he didn't say it that bad. He's like, look, you're coming to DC. It's important, to look right. So I was like, okay. So I bought a suit and all of that, and that was when I learned that there's Texas Jared and then there's DC Jared.
Yeah.
Right. DC Jared, I don't even take my hat with me.
Yeah.
Like when I go to DC,
you're going to want to put it on.
Don't even bring my hat. Yeah. Don't even bring my hat. I go to the barber. I go to a barber, right? This is the same guy that used to take a clippers, shave my head. So I go to a barber and they trim my beard, they cut my hair to get me all pretty. And then that next day or the day after, I put on my suit, I get on a plane, I fly to DC, and there's no more redneckisms. There's no, silly stuff that I say, it's like I got to watch what I do. I don't pick off a barber's plate. We're sitting at this really nice restaurant. And she's like, hey, you want this? And I'm like, no, because it's different, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like this whole different redneck Jared and DC Jared.
So when you eat chicken in DC, you don't eat the cartilage.
I don't eat chicken.
Okay, because the bone thing's okay.
Oh no, I don't even chicken because I won't. I know that when I'm done eating chicken, they're gonna look at my plate and they're gonna be like, "That dude is starving," because I literally throw my chicken bones to the dogs and they're like, "What the heck? What is this?"
Well, I'm the same way. We went to a wedding a while back and it was a very nice wedding, and it was chicken, and I remember just sitting there looking at it and I was like, I can't believe I'm leaving the cartilage on the bone.
I'm telling you, this is exactly how it is. Menu: fried chicken, roast beef, chicken fried steak, chicken salad. Yes, I'd like the quinoa salad, please. I am not joking. When I'm in DC, that is exactly how it is.
You get home and you hit Whataburger in the airport.
Absolutely. But what catches you, what gets you in trouble? We had our national convention in Austin. It's like the regular Hulk looking at Dave Banner at the same time.
Yeah.
Jared DC and DC Jared and Texas Jared meet.
It was like seeing your ex-girlfriend from high school while you're with your wife.
That's exactly right. So it's like I'm in my boots and I'm in, because they're like, oh, it's Texas, you got to dress like you're from Texas, you got to have a hat and boots. I'm like, of course I do, but I don't bring those out, So it was a little interesting,
cool.
but it was a lot of fun. But ultimately, it's funny because there's a shift, and there is, the professionalism, and it's hard for me because I'm a field guy at heart.
Yeah.
Right. I am a field guy.
Sure.
So it was a little adjusting, to that, but redneckism, I took to it like a duck to water,
So tell me this: where can people, if there's people that want to learn more about this, what are websites or what are entities that people can go learn more about this industry, or if somebody hears this and says, man, that's something I'd really like to do, how can somebody find more information on what you're doing?
Check with your NECA chapter.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there one in every state?
Usually like many.
Okay.
In every state. Usually, it's like per region.
NECA, right?
NECA.
And what does that stand for again?
National Electrical Contractors Association.
Okay.
Check with your NECA. Really, don't be afraid to go ask for a job. Go to an electrical contractor. Hey, I'm interested in working for you. I know the technology. I would like to help out. Get your resume built. The NECA contractor, Industry Connect, those are some key words you could Google. Construction technology classes, the STEM classes, some of those STEM schools. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a lot of construction classes that are starting to pop up in those STEM schools.
Okay.
That's a really good way to do it. I want to give back, and I would love to start doing videos. I'm doing videos already on some of this, and maybe that's an option too. That these videos are going to be up on the Electri website.
Okay.
So Electri we're a nonprofit.
Okay.
Right. So it's everything we do.
How do you spell Electri?
ELECTRI.
Okay.
And then .org.
.org. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to start putting videos up on there on how to set up a BIM model, how to incorporate QR codes to your workflow, Bluebeam projects in the cloud. And I'm putting all these, there's just little 10, 15-minute videos, but ultimately it's going to be the entire process.
Gotcha.
From very beginning to end. Don't be afraid to self-teach.
Yeah.
Watch those videos over and over and over. Start from the beginning. Go through the steps. You'd be surprised how much you can learn.
Yeah.
And how the electrical contractor is willing to teach the people who are willing to learn.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. And one thing that is always overlooked, and I give my kids this advice: when you get a new job, get one of those little spiral pads, put it in your pocket, and write down everything that you learn.
Yeah.
To this day, I have a spiral in my briefcase. I have one in my back pocket. I have one in my truck. You learn, if you were really learning, you're going to learn so much. You're not going to be able to retain it all. You need to write it down.
Sure.
So, I keep it, and I tell everybody, I want to be wrong today.
Yeah.
I want to be wrong. I want to get something wrong. I want to fail today, because if I'm doing that, then I'm learning something new.
Sure.
So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to learn, and write that stuff down.
That's cool, man. Well, Jared, I appreciate you. You got anything else you want to share?
No, just, really, you're dealing with the technology. You're playing with the technology. Shoot, you might as well put it to work and make money.
Well, man, I appreciate your time. Can anybody get a hold of you on that Electri?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
if somebody wanted more information from you personally, is there?
Yeah, Jared, Jared .Christman, CHRISTMAN @electri.org. Shoot me an email. It's actually a design flaw in my personality. I don't know the word no. So everyone asks me something, I'm like, sure, of course, yeah, absolutely. So, but no, and in all honesty, reach out to me. I'm all about helping out. I will help you out any way that I can.
I think the big thing for me is I want people to be able to, if they're interested in this, to have some sort of direction, to be able to go, hey, maybe shoot you an email and have you go, hey, that's what you want to do, go that direction, because that really helps. And like I said, for me personally, I love being able to inform rural areas, because that's where we came from, right? Rural South Texas.
Yes.
And there's so much down in those areas that things have gotten a lot better than from when we were kids. There's a lot more available to them, but still to be able to get the information that, kids in larger cities like in Houston or Dallas are getting exposed to. Because again, if you don't know what you're missing out on, you don't even know that you're missing out on it.
No, absolutely. And just make sure that if you do email me, make sure you put Gabe's podcast or something that I know, because believe it or not, I get one or two spam emails about, I guess I have an Uncle King Alibaba that's trying to give me $13 million.
You know what? I got the same uncle, but he's a prince or something.
Yeah. Well, we're related.
We may be. We're from the same areas, though. You never know.
No. But, make sure you put in there that Gabe's podcast or something. And I'll tell you this, if you're going to take the initiative to email me, I'm going to take the initiative to respond back.
Sure.
So,
love you, Jared.
Love you too, bud.
You're a good dude.
Yep, here to help, man. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to our next one. So.
Me too, brother.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Jared. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.